In this video, I want to talk about one of the most anticipated cameras that might come out from Fuji this year, and that's the X-H2. I've never made a speculation video like this before, but this is a subject I've been wanting to talk about. I think a few people have made videos like this already, and I think this conversation will heat up tremendously over the next 6 to 8 weeks. But here is my take on some of the options, or what might the X-H2 look like? What might it be like? What features might it have? So, huge disclaimer up front. None of this is even rumors. This is all speculation. This is from my wish list, me just thinking out loud and brainstorming on what could be, what might be, what I hope will be. None of this is rumors based on anything other than my thoughts and reading some stuff online and coming to some conclusions. So if you think I'm spot on, you disagree, have your own ideas, whatever, leave them in the comments, keep it constructive. This should be a fun conversation of what the X-H2 should be, or what do you hope it might be. I don't have a lot of specific specs that I'm expecting the X-H2 to meet, so I'm not going to do a lot of listing on what I think this should have or that should have. But here are 3 general directions, or 3 general approaches I think that Fujifilm might take with the X-H2. Number 1 being just taking everything up a notch, having a higher resolution sensor. Whether that's the rumored Sony sensor that's 43 megapixels, or it's another sensor we don't know about. But I think if it is a new sensor, it's 30 megapixels or above. And maybe it's a better autofocus and improved IBIS and things like that, where it's just improvements on these key features that we've seen in some of the other models, combined with a higher resolution sensor and maybe some improvements on video specs and whatnot. But number 1 on this list is just a general improvement on all those key features that you'd expect, almost the obvious update. Just more resolution, improved autofocus, and all the obvious things you might expect from a second generation camera. No huge surprises. That would mean that it's still a photo first, somewhat video hybrid camera, still kind of straddling the middle of the road for photographers and videographers, or people who do both, not really taking completely one side or the other, which even though the X-H1 had improved video features, it was still a solid hybrid camera for both photographers and videographers. And option 1 on my list is essentially the same thing for the X-H2. Okay, option number 2 is mostly video-centric improvements. Basically releasing it as more a video-centric camera and not improving a ton on the photo side. So that would mean having a flip-out screen like the X-T4, XS10, having the improved IBIS of those cameras, having higher bit rates and the H.265 HEVC codec options of those cameras, as well as the improved autofocus features that people expect from a modern video-centric mirrorless camera. That could still keep the design relatively intact, minus the adjustment for that screen, and maybe they can make it slightly thinner with the new IBIS mechanism that they have in the other cameras. So option number 2 is improving the video features first, most importantly, making it more of a video-centric camera, which means that maybe the resolution wouldn't go up higher than what the X-T4 is, maybe even still keeping the X-Trans 4 sensor and not going to the X-Trans 5 quite yet. Then we have option number 3, which is the option that I really like and the one I hope they go with. And this is adopting a model we've seen from other manufacturers over the past few years. And that is not trying to make everyone happy with one camera body. And that would mean releasing 2 X-H2 models. Let's say an X-H2A and an X-H2S, or whatever moniker they would like to label them with. Obviously being one a photo-centric camera with the highest resolution possible from the current sensor that they have available, and the other model being video-centric with keeping the resolution of the sensor around what it currently is, giving us 6K recording, higher frame rates in 4K, and some of these features that we've seen from these other video-centric mirrorless cameras out there. So I think the photocentric model would have around 40 megapixels or so, and the video-centric one would have about 26 megapixels for stills. For video resolution-wise, I think they both could probably shoot 6K, but I think for the video-centric one, they'll have options like shooting 422 10-bit internal, shooting high frame rates of 4K, having a clean output to external recorders at 10-bit high resolution output. Maybe even having ProRes RAW capability when shooting to an external recorder. Some of these features that we've seen on some of these Panasonic mirrorless cameras and other manufacturers have that same type of feature set. They could add other things like zebras and waveform displays on the video-centric camera as well to really round out the features for the cinematographers out there. We've seen this before. The Nikon Z6 and Nikon Z7, although not explicitly went after these two markets, in a way kind of did with the differences in the features of the Z6 and Z7. To a certain extent, the Canon EOS R5 and R6 have a similar approach. The Panasonic S1R and the S1H have a similar duality approach between those two models. Maybe one's a little more photocentric and one's a little more videocentric, but still essentially the same camera body, and some of the core features are the same, but still releasing two models. So depending on your main use case, you can decide which one is best for you. And I think more recently, and this one is really the one that got me thinking that Fuji may follow suit with this path, is Leica with the SL2 and SL2S. They've had the SL2 out for a little while, and most recently they released the SL2S, which is more of the video-centric version of those two cameras. I think this could be a really interesting path going forward if they decide to do this. They've kind of done something like this before, but not exactly. When they released the GFX 50R and 50S, they had some of the same internals, but different exterior designs, different body designs. One with more of a range style feel, and one with more of a design like the X-H2, of an SLR style ergonomics. So it's not unheard of for them to release two cameras with different feature sets. Whenever they release like an X-T3 and X-T30, again, similar internals, different body style. This would be two cameras with identical or very, very similar body styles, but tweaked internals depending on the use case of what you're buying the camera for. So I could go on and on about this because I am just really excited about the possibilities for the X-H2. I really hope they release two different versions, one photocentric, one videocentric. If they do that, I think I will still go for the videocentric one because I don't need this massive resolution feature set, but who knows, we'll see. What do you think the X-H2 is going to be like? What's top on your wish list? Whether you own a Fujifilm camera already or whether that would be your first one to get into the Fuji system. Let me know in the comments about what you want to see from the X-H2. So that's it for now. I will do a follow-up video when the X-H2 is announced. It's not impossible for it to be announced at the end of this month, but I think we're probably looking at February. But regardless of when it's announced, I will come back and do a follow-up video and see how wrong I was or how right I was. Either way, it's going to be exciting. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate all of my viewers, all my subscribers, and all the feedback I've been getting. I have a lot of cool videos planned for this year, so it's going to be really cool. I hope you guys stick around, and I hope you consider subscribing. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.